Welcome back, viewers. Those of you who have just joined in, we have been debating the EU referendum with my special guest, Mr. Jim Fitzpatrick, who was previously a Minister of State for Farming and the Environment. So let's start again, Jim. So if we stay in the UK, will we keep our pound forever? Will we keep our Queen's head forever?
I think it certainly looks that way at the moment, given the trouble that the Eurozone's in. It was the Labour government which prevented us from joining the Euro, and we were right to do that, and we're right to stay out of it at the moment. So I don't see any prospect of us joining the Euro anytime soon.
So what about the idea of the state of the European Union? So that is the part of being in the EU, which is slowly we will adopt the euro, then maybe state of Europe.
I think that's unlikely. One of the big obstacles that we have put in the way is Europe becoming a federal republic like the United States of America, and that we will be a federal united union of Europe. We're opposed to that. Most European countries are opposed to that. That's not likely to happen because we wouldn't have to.
There will be never the European Union for state.
United States of Europe. Yeah. I don't think it's going to happen.
Never going to happen.
I wouldn't say it's never going to happen. Who can? One thing you learn in politics is you never say never,
never say never.
But I can't see that being on the horizon for decades. But the ambition for most sensible people on the planet is to have a united world where everybody in the world enjoys safety, a good standard of living, an ability to grow up and be able to fulfill one's potential. That's why we have the United Nations, to try and solve international problems. The European Union was designed to try and prevent war breaking out amongst European nations the way it did twice in the 20th century. So it's supposed to be a civilizing aspect, and the United Nations is supposed to be a civilizing aspect, unlike ISIL, Daesh, who want to try and impose caliphate on the whole world and murder apostates and non-believers. We want a civilized world where everybody has decent rights and integrity and the ability to live safely and securely.
There's no need for United States of Europe.
No.
Okay, thank you, Jim. Jim, our Prime Minister, David Cameron, negotiated our EU membership deal. Do you know what changes has he made?
Not exactly. He came back with a number of amendments which he put to the House of Commons, but it wasn't as much as he wanted, and it wasn't as much as I think there were people in the House of Commons who are anti the European Union. He could have come back with a cheque for $100 billion. It wouldn't have satisfied them. They want to leave the European Union.
So there wasn't much of a change, or was there
there were some adjustments, but not fundamental ones.
Was there any need of changing those, asking for those changes?
There's always a need for reform. The European Union is in need of reform. It's too bureaucratic, it's too expensive, it's too burdensome. We always need to improve the structure of our bureaucracies. The House of Commons is always in need of improvement. The Conservatives at the moment are trying to reduce the number of members of Parliament from 650 to 600. Nothing stays the same. Your restaurant, I'm sure, doesn't stay the same.
Well,
every few years you must look at and think,
Jim, will you stick to the EU referendum?
When you do decor. It's exactly the same with the European Union.
Now, what change he was looking for, which is concern for many, which is European Court of Human Rights, which is not part of an EU institution, I know that, but European Parliament can rule out any judgment we make it here in the UK. So we are not in full control of our own democracy, that the critics are saying. And this is what he wanted to gain some power on it, making sure we can maintain our own affair. But has he been successful on this area?
The Conservatives were suggesting that we should leave the treaty on the European Human Rights Act, but the government said it's not going to proceed along those lines. There are even some on the Brexit side of the argument who don't want to see us coming out of the European Human Rights Act. European human rights are about basic rights of citizens, which most people would sign up to. Why would we not?
Yes, European human right it is what it is. Government is saying is okay. Human right is one thing. Or what about we controlling our own affair like benefit, controlling our law according to suit our people needs. Sometimes we talking about making a rules, but decision has been already made in Brussels.
Well, Brussels doesn't control the level of benefits we pay in the UK, and one of the concessions that the Prime Minister did get was that we would pay the benefit entitlement of people from Europe that exists in their country. So that was one of the few changes that he was successful in. We do have control over the vast majority of the decisions that we make in the United Kingdom are made at Westminster. They're not made in Brussels. There are some arrangements that are made in Brussels. Air quality regulations are made in Brussels. The quality of our beaches is made in Brussels. The quality of our water is made in Brussels, because we want common standards across the European Union so that we know that the air that we breathe is clean air. In London, the air that we breathe is not as clean as it should be, and the Mayor of London, the previous Mayor of London, Boris Johnson, tried to bury the report which demonstrated we were not living up to European Union standards. I want the European Union standards on air quality to be applied in London, because I want my kids, my grandkids, to be growing up in an environment where they can develop, where their lungs aren't damaged by the pollution caused by cars and buses and everything else. London doesn't conform to European standards. Now, if you want the human right to have dirty air in London, then vote leave EU. I want the right to have the ability to breathe clean air in London, and I think that air should be up to European standard, so I'm voting to remain.
Okay, so our liberty, in other words, our liberty will be weakened without the European Court of Human Rights, and we need that.
Well, the European Court of Human Rights and the European Social Charter, Jeremy Corbyn made a big speech yesterday which indicated that the European Social Charter underpins many rights of people at work in terms of paid leave, in terms of holidays, in terms of sickness benefits, all of these things which are underpinned by European law. We have them in British law, but they're also underpinned in European law. So British government can't reduce those benefits because Europe protects them. If we come out of Europe, those rights will be vulnerable. And that was Jeremy Corbyn's big argument yesterday, that we support the social chapter and we want to protect workers' rights as well as protecting British business. This is getting the balance right for people at work and for businesses to be able to operate effectively.
But if on this point, sorry, I'm going back to the question once again. Even if you come out, but still you will be protected. We have to be abide by the European Court of Human Rights, don't we? Because this is not part of European Union. If
Britain decides to leave the European Union, the next target for the Brexiteers will be to come out of the Human Rights Act.
Oh, that is something
that was something that will follow.
Later follow. But even if we come out, we are still protected by European Court of Human Rights, because we have to be. I think it will
be a logical follow-on that if we come out of the European Union, the European Human Rights Act will be the next target.
The European Court of Human Rights is not an institution for EU countries only. It is an institution for European countries. Russia is a part of it, and other part of the world is a part of it. But they have to be abide by the European Court of Human Rights. So even if you come out, still those protection will be there.
And there are people within Parliament who think that we should be coming out of the European Human Rights Act and want to rewrite the legislation to get us out of it and not be part of it.
So, thank you, Jim. So this EU referendum, how much impact it has on British Bangladeshi community?
It will have the same fundamental impact on the Bangladeshi community that it will have on everybody else. It is the most important political decision that British citizens have been asked to make for best part of 50 years. If you looked at the referendum in Scotland, when Scotland had a decision to make to stay part of Great Britain or to go as an independent country, 85% of the voters turned out because they wanted to express an opinion on something which was of fundamental importance to them. This is as important to Britain as the Scottish referendum was to Scotland. And I hope that everybody turns out and votes, because this is about our future economic stability. It's about our future ability to pay for the basic services, the health service and housing and police and fire.
Jim, thank you. I'll come to this. We are coming to the very end of the program, and if you can kindly summarize your argument to convince your voter. You have 1 minute to summarize your argument to convince your voter.
I don't think I need to persuade the voters. I think the voters need to look at the facts and figures for themselves. They must make a decision. The whole Labour leadership in Tower Hamlets, in London and nationally is recommending a vote to remain. We think that's best for our voters, it's best for our communities, it's best for the health service, for housing and for all of our investment in our businesses. People will make their own choice. People will look at the facts and the figures and they'll decide whether they want to stay or whether they want to leave the European Union. We're strongly recommending that people get out to vote and vote to remain.
Thank you, Jim. Thank you. Viewers, you have heard the argument from both sides. Argument from Jim's side was European Union is good for us. European Union আমাদের জন্য, আমাদের ব্যবসার জন্য, আমাদের চাকরির জন্য, আমাদের হেলথ সার্ভিসের জন্য, আমাদের হাউজিং এর জন্য খুবই ভালো। সো আমরা যেভাবে আছি সেভাবেই থাকাটা উচিত। এটা হলো জিমের বক্তব্য এবং যুক্তি। So it is over to you, viewers. This election is a very, very important election, far more important than any other election, because this election will decide your country's future. This election will decide our future. So whatever decision you make sure you go out and vote on Thursday the 23rd of June. I thank you for watching. Thank you, gentlemen. Good night and Khuda Hafiz.